Welcome, everyone. My name is Laura Haight. I am the chair of the League's Gender Equity Committee and the moderator for tonight's program. We at the League are really excited about this program because it marks one of the few times in recent memory that we can actually talk to you about positive legislation in the State House. Legislation that we can still take action on. The issue we're discussing tonight is the period tax, also known as the pink tax. Is it fair, you may ask, that women pay tax on period products that are essential for their health and emotional well-being, while men get Viagara tax-free? Thanks to the work of tonight's presenters and strong bipartisan support in the State House, that may not be the case much longer. First, a little bit of housekeeping. We ask that you remain muted throughout the program. After the presentation and discussion, we'll have a Q&A. Please put your questions in the chat. Please keep your questions to the point. We will take as many as we can. If you have any problems during the meeting, please send a message in the chat to Susan Bell. She is our League president and today's meeting manager. The event is being recorded and will be available within 48 hours. You will receive an email with the link as soon as that's ready. Okay, let me introduce our speakers. Many of us know Ashley Crary Lidow by reputation. She is the Director of Policy and Government Relations at WREN. Although what we see in the public view is primarily her lobbying efforts, a lot of her work goes on behind the scenes. She builds coalitions, facilitates research and analysis that is then used to support her lobbying efforts. She has a reputation for her ability to drive agendas, foster important relationships with decision makers and stakeholders, and develop strong messaging that mobilizes advocates. She holds a master's degree in public health and has co-authored research and serves as an advisor on the local, state, and national levels on public health initiatives. Welcome, Ashley. And Karen Dudley-Culbreath is new to her role as executive director at the Period Project, a Greenville-born and based nonprofit that focuses on increasing awareness on the local and state level of period poverty and delivering period products to those in need, many of whom are students in our public schools. Prior to joining the Period Project at the end of 2022, Karen was the interim executive director of the state ACLU. Her strategic leadership, business acumen, and advocacy skills are directed at propelling the Period Project to a new stage of growth, improving the lives of marginalized community members. Karen holds a master's degree in business administration and has 25 years of experience in human resources and nonprofit management. Her advocacy is diverse, and she serves as the chair of the board of South Carolinians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty. She's co-chair of the Greenville chapter of the Society for HR Management Diversity Committee, and also the incoming treasurer of the Urban League, which sounds like a pretty full plate to me. And welcome, Karen. That said, let's get this show on the road. And we're going to start with Karen, who's going to set the table, talk to us about period poverty, its breadth and depth in our state, and outline the many ways this affects the lives of women and girls in education and the workplace. Karen, over to you.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. And it's a pleasure to be with you and to co-host this with, or co-facilitate this with Ashley. Ashley and I have been very busy at the State House working for the rights of women and all administrating individuals here in the state of South Carolina. This evening, I'm going to share with you a little bit about the Period Project, and Ashley and I are going to share specifically what we've been doing at the State House and give you some information about how you can become active with us in the next couple of days. First and foremost, in 2015, the Period Project was a thought. It came from our two co-creators who are co-founders who decided that they wanted to take an active role after seeing a show that took place that talked about period poverty in other parts of the world. Understanding that it is likely that the period poverty was also existing in Greenville, South Carolina, they took on the efforts of putting work behind their passion. They decided that they were going to reach out and see what the needs were for the homeless population, and quickly realized that it was not just the homeless population living with period poverty, but there was a lot of individuals that were in our school systems and also getting other services throughout the state. So it is their vision that every individual with the need will have easy access to affordable and free menstrual health products, with the understanding that we want to strengthen the dignity as well as raise the awareness that exists as we discuss period poverty. We definitely understand that it is unlikely that we'll ever be able to totally eradicate period poverty, but we do ensure that as much of an impact that we can have on the community, we definitely take all steps to eradicate it. So when we're talking about period poverty, we're discussing something that normally has not been one of the topics when we discuss poverty. It describes those who are low income and who face monthly challenges just meeting the essentials. The term also refers to the increased economic vulnerability administrators face due to the financial burden posed by menstrual supplies. We're talking about the financial implication as well as the access. Here in South Carolina, we have some very rural areas that it still presents an additional challenge for individuals to raise up out of period poverty. Specifically in South Carolina, there are 1 in 4 public school students who are experiencing period poverty even in 2023. That is a high number, and a number that in our state is just totally unacceptable. 17% of female middle and high school students attend Title I schools, which is our focus. These are the individuals that we really want to help because their impact in school is what creates our future here in South Carolina. Over 199,000 women and girls aged 12 to 44 receive some type of government assistance. However, understanding that government assistance does not cover the period supplies that are essential for administrator. And most people don't realize that SNAP and WIC benefits do not cover these things. And so it leaves those living in poverty further without the resources that they are in need of. We address these things with a silly picture of me, working with our local collegiate chapters and our state chapters, specifically here in South Carolina. But we also operate in North Carolina, Georgia, Maryland, and Texas with different chapters. So understanding the need is not just in South Carolina, but specifically for this evening, we will be focused on what we're doing here in South. Again, when we talk about ending the stigma, also around the medical health of young people and also of our female population. We realized that in certain studies that have been done around the country, there's some medical support that menstrual health is important, not just from a product of receiving the actual products or the need for receiving the actual products, but it's also from the medical risk that are associated. When you're living in period poverty, you may find yourself wearing your tampons or your pads for an extended period of time, and that has long-term implications. And so the risk of dermatitis, urinary tract infection, bacterial vaginosis, and cervical and infertility becomes more frequent when you are living in period poverty. We talked about it not just being access, but also being cost. Right now, the cost is approximately $13.25 per month for administrating individuals. And at this time, South Carolina is actually taxing those products without providing any type of support. We at the Period Project, we use our partnerships. Here on the screen, you can see our partnership with the local Girl Scout troop, as well as Walmart, where individuals come into our warehouse and either donate or pack products so that we can distribute them into the community. Again, with Title I schools being our focus. You see here on the screen some of the information that we received as feedback from one of the nurses at Woodmont High School, as well as one of our clients, both sharing some of the horrific situations that occur for those who are living and experiencing period poverty. When women are absent from school, when girls are absent from school and women are absent from work, that diverse point of view and skill set training that is needed is absent, and it hurts our economy long term. That is one of the most important reasons why it's important that South Carolina does everything that it can do to help in this inequitable sales tax. Right now, we're serving approximately 336 schools, and we look to increase that as we continue to improve our footprint of our Title I schools. And that looks to be about 63,000, just a little bit over 63,000 period packs distributed just in the year 2022. One of the unfortunate things about our distribution is that the need is going up. We're happy to be able to distribute, but the need continues to rise. And so any support and assistance that we're able to provide and receive, we're definitely grateful. We work with our Head Start center directors as well. And you see a quote here where it shares just the importance of us helping not only the parents of the students, but also the student. This quote also is from one of the young ladies who had realized that one of her classmates or teammates in this situation was not attending their swim practice. And lo and behold, once they dug a little bit further, it was because of the situation that was taking with them experiencing period poverty. So where there's a household where a mother is experiencing period poverty, those things are also trickling down to her administrating children as well. So this becomes a family issue. And it takes us as a community to work together to support and provide these products. So you may say, what can you do to assist? Well, one, please take the opportunity to speak with your Senate, your senators, or any senator that you have access to. Right now, we have House Bill 3563 that has passed the House unanimously and is currently with the Senate. And we would like for you to get involved by contacting your senator. Using the information that is listed on your screen, you can contact and identify who your senator is, or feel free to contact any senator to share with them the importance of putting 3563 on the agenda immediately so that we can have this sales tax voted on before the end of this legislative session. Your actions are very critical to our success. As I shared, we did have 4 bills pre-filed. At this time, 3109 was presented by our partner in the Senate, Katrina Shealy, out of the Lexington area. And we also have House Bill 3563 that came from our good partner, Gilda Cobb-Hunter, out of the Orangeburg area. We really need this to pass in this legislative session. And with your help, we can definitely do so. So please, anyone that you know, everyone that you know, please ask them to give their senator a call so that they can know the importance of hearing the voices of their constituents who are wanting to end the inequitable sales tax that exists for women. Also, I would like to share that the Period Poverty Awareness Week is coming up. We're in different areas of the state. We will also be doing donation drives, and there's a QR code there. And you can also visit the website of the Period Project to gain additional information. As I shared at the beginning, I thank you for this opportunity, and I want to kick it over to my partner who takes care of such great work, not only for this particular bill and this particular matter at the State House, but for so many others. Ashley, let's have further conversation about what we're really doing at the State House.
Thank you, Karen. And anyone who has any questions, go ahead and populate them in the chat. We are at a really unique time in the year with the South Carolina legislature, where today, Thursday, May the 4th, is marking one of the last couple days in the first year of a 2-year session. So South Carolina runs on 2-year legislative cycles. We start in January of the odd year and finish in May of the even year. And they will take a break. So they work January, May, break, then they come back January, May, and then end. So any bill that doesn't make it by next Thursday will be on pause until January. Except for today, I found out that there potentially isn't a sine die resolution. So we may be called back to the governor based on his own political will on any issue that he cares about. So there's that. But as of today, May 4th, we have 3 legislative days to get this policy, which has already passed a majority body by a unanimous vote. April 5th, we got a unanimous vote out of the House of Representatives. And I don't know how to show everyone how unique that is, but we have a very divisive legislature right now. It's really hard for them to agree on anything, but this is one of those moments where it was a unanimous vote and they all agreed that yes, we should end the sales tax on period products because it is inequitable. They recognize that it is a medical necessity. We do not tax other medical necessities. And so the House of Representatives did that. And now it is sitting and waiting for a subcommittee and full committee in Senate Finance before it can go to the Senate floor. But it doesn't have to be that way. So we only have 3 legislative days. Truly, if we look at a regular session and something that's going to happen in 2023, we need something to happen Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of next week if you're in with us in real time. And if you're looking at this recording, we need something to happen before May 11. So anybody watching this recording can hear me say that of 2023. And so you don't have to have a subcommittee hearing. A committee chair could either go through the full process, or they could say, this bill is non-controversial. It is something we really want to do. I want to take this bill that's been assigned to my committee and I'm going to move it to the floor automatically. So when you're contacting your senator and they're potentially, if you get them on the phone and you're having a back and forth and they're saying, oh, we can't do this in the end of session, you can. It's actually quite simple. It's just removing the tax from products that are related to a menstrual cycle. So removing the tax on period products, and had unanimous support in the House. And you could take it out of finance and put it to the floor for a vote in this upcoming week before the sine die, which is 5 p.m. on Thursday. And we could have a vote on it. And if there's no amendments, anything like that, this bill could get to the governor. So I want us to work to that solution. Is they write their own rules, and when there's a will, there's a way. And you know what makes the will of the legislature move is the thing that is what they think is politically right to do. Well, it's politically right to do the thing that's necessary for the families of our state. So if we put the pressure on and we actively are working today, tomorrow, Monday, like anytime we're picking up the phone before they come back in session on Tuesday, there is a possibility for us to get a committee hearing or to pull this bill to the floor on the Senate to get action before the sine die, which is Thursday, May 11th at 5 p.m. So we can do it, and I believe it. And I'd love to know if anybody has any questions about that legislative process, because we're at that really strange time of year where it's like, wait, it can happen that quickly? Yes. Like I said, the legislature really does have enough power and leverage where if there is a will with their bodies, there is a way. And it's already passed one chamber really strongly and can move that direction. And if it doesn't happen by next Thursday, there is no sine die resolution at current time. I would like there to be one. That is something we talk about, not on a Zoom call for the period tax, but if there is no resolution, the governor is allowed to have emergency powers to bring people back to talk about any legislation. And then also within the scope of the way we do 2-year cycles, the bill can come up back in January. But what does that mean really? Like we all know that if you have a menstrual cycle, that comes once a month. If you're doing kind of that colloquial, you have a normal cycle. It's coming consistently time and again. This tax is being a burden on our families every single time somebody cycles. And that is inequitable in our society and just shouldn't happen. So we can continue if this doesn't happen next Thursday, though I do believe in our power for making all those phone calls all the way through the weekend and trying to get it done, that it can come back up in January. The bill is not dead, it's just delayed, and we can continue this momentum. And we definitely should do that together so that if we don't get it next week, we build the power to get it as soon as we come back in January. So that's a little bit about the ways that we maneuver in the legislature, what we're trying to do. And Karen and myself and partners, the League of Women Voters, and lots of other organizations like Planned Parenthood are in discussion with legislators about not just going to removing the tax, because removing the tax is not alleviating period poverty, right? Like it is a helpful step towards a solution, but it is not a one-stop shop. And so we are also looking towards how we can get these products in public spaces, how we can provide these things free in school systems, and really trying to ensure that this medical necessity is something that it's not a have versus have not situation, that everybody has equal access to. So we're doing this first step and also looking towards our long game of how we build on this partnership and the education that this conversation, this bill is driving, how that builds into a brighter future for everyone. So I see a really great question in the chat on whether or not we should be calling finance committee members first to push to move this to the floor. The strongest thing that you have as a person is that you are a constituent of a person at the legislature, because they are first and foremost always kind of in re-election mode. They're supposed to serve the people who elected them. So I, Ashley Lidow, live in Mia McLeod's Senate district. The strongest thing I have in my pocket as a voter is that I am a constituent, Mia McLeod, and I call her and say, I need this in our district. I need us to do this as a state. And you work towards doing that. It's my first phone call. Always, if you only have one first phone call, it's to your direct person that you elect to represent your position. And then if you have time in your day, I hope that you have space to do this advocacy. You move into the next space where you can call the Senate Finance members. You start with the chairperson. His name is Harvey Peeler of Finance. And then you move down to the person who is the subcommittee chair where the bill would get assigned. His name is Tom Davis. So I would prioritize your way of your direct senator, finance chair, and then Tom Davis, where the subcommittee would be chaired in that. I would love to hit all three, but if you're really choosing all of it, you choose your direct connection, because that word in any message or actual direct conversation of I am your constituent and I want this, it's a lot stronger than I'm a South Carolina citizen and I want this. They still listen to it, but there is a level setting of, wow, that's my voter. It's going to be an election in 24. Wow, my voters are all calling me about this. That's a big deal. I better pay attention to this. This is a community issue because they are focused on their districts in those pieces. So with that, that's what I have to say about what we can do in the next couple of days. There is a direct action you can do. It is not lost. The session is not over. And it's also a bill that I have not heard opposition to yet. We just have to find the opportunity moment, and we make opportunity. So if we do this together, we can win.
And Ashley and I thank you, Ashley. Ashley and I had the opportunity to speak with the subcommittee chair recently just to ask if he would do all that he could to get it on the agenda. And he did give us the affirmative that he would he would have the conversation and attempt to get it on the agenda. So we have faith, but your calls are critical to this. And I will share any female that you have in your household, in your reach. And it does not just have to be a female. We want our male partners and allies as well to say, let's get rid of the inequitable sales tax that women in South Carolina are carrying. It will not adversely impact our state. They have plenty of money to move around, to adjust, to take care of the small, minuscule amount. But they need to hear the voices of the women of South
Carolina. That was great. I have a question for, I posted up in the chat the link to the finance committee members. So anybody who's on the call who wants to look and see if your senator is on the finance committee, you can follow that link and figure that out. So I think that would be great. Ashley, you mentioned the long game, and I'm wondering some of the bills that that were initially introduced this session included other products, as essential products, diapers, baby food, which it still boggles my mind that that's taxed, but okay. Is there any, is that part of the long game that you envision is working on those next, or trying to work those into this bill?
Well, so everything is within the scope of a long game, right? Like, so we have a long-term vision of ensuring that families have economic dignity and can afford the things that they need to thrive, right? And so if there's an opportunity moment for this bill to be amended and concurred with in the House in this year to achieve those products to be exempt with the period products, absolutely, it's in conversation, because it's all one same concept, is that they are all necessary items to maintain health and well-being in your household. So any sort of infant formula, that's not a prepared food, that's some frivolous thing. That is food for children, okay? That is necessary. And for it to be taxed over wrapping paper and roller coasters, that is absolutely unacceptable. So it's constantly in our conversation, but we're also very aware of what may trip us up. And so we will continue, as we have in other areas, to build on our education of our lawmakers to see where something can happen now and achieve removing the tax right in this moment, get it to the governor's desk, and then approach the next year. I talked to you about this last year. You did a great job. Let me tell you about something else that needs to happen. And so we continue to build. We've already built those relationships and move on. So we always try to go for the gold standards, is what I call it. I want to go for everything in those negotiations, and I'm aware of where I may hit a stumbling block as a kind of negotiator between a legislator and the time to which we have session. And if I'm able to achieve something where a large population of people will get the tax removed from their products right now, and other products might hold it up, I'm going to come back. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that that tax is removed. And then I'm coming back because I'm resolute in my long-term vision for economic dignity for people to say, we had such great conversations. You voted this way. Let's build together again. And we can continue to do that. And I've had success in other avenues outside of this topic, where it's not a conversation stop. It's actually a really great conversation start. Mm-hmm. So yes, long-term vision, we are trying for everything, but also very cognizant of what we could get now versus later.
Gotcha.
And Laura, if I can add to that, something that Ashley and I have also worked on in addition to this is getting it as a budget line item for the education budget. So we have been in communication with Representative Cobb Hunter to speak on the House and the Senate side to discuss how we can get this as a budget item, so that just as the school systems are purchasing toilet paper and other supplies, they would be purchasing menstrual health. So this is the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
So I have a question. what's the pushback? I mean, why has this conversation been going on for so long, and what are the legislators saying is the reasoning that they don't support it?
I think initially, of course, it comes around from, it's a financial loss to the state. But the reality is that if you're not someone who has intricate experience of menstrual cycles, it doesn't impact you. You don't know the full breadth of it. And the current makeup of our legislator here in South Carolina is beyond predominantly male. So the lack of female and voices and a lack of administrating individual voices being able to sit at the table and vote is one of the biggest issues.
Well, you mentioned how unusual it is to have a unanimous bill. That must have been a big unanimous vote. That must have been a really big moment, right?
It was for the both of us. We both had an opportunity to speak, and there was one other speaker, and we had the conversation, of course, similar to why is this even an issue? We talked about Viagra being able to be a medically necessary item that can be untaxed, but menstrual health products not. And so I think with Ashley and I giving the clear information, that information carried on with with the other committees and then the full house, and people understood the breadth of what we were discussing and the need to change. So we were excited, but we're not rejoicing all the way until we get to and through the Senate.
Right.
And I do want to add, there isn't a nugget of the way that the Period Project set up success for this session that is very unique to why it happened this session. So there's a children's committee that's made up of House members, senators, and state agencies that do a listening session during the fall to hear about issues that impact children in our state. And the Period Project really laser focused in ensuring that their communities at every step across the state where the Children's Committee did testimony about period poverty and reinforced to all of those committee members, those who are really like teeth sunk into policy, not politics, policy that are supposed to help children. And like they are truly the more committed members of the State House, right? To do stuff in the off session that they're not getting paid for, just to listen because they care. And Period Project was so intentional about making sure that at every committee hearing, there was a speaker or multiple on this issue, that it teed it up for attention. It got in their entire report for that to be distributed to the entire General Assembly. And then the reason the bill moved is also because the leadership of Gilda Cupp Hunter. The bill that moved, not the Republican bill that was by Neil Collins on the Children's Committee. He's on Ways and Means of he's on the committee to which it should have moved, right? It is Gilda Cupp Hunter's bill that moved 3563, because that's the other thing you have to realize with legislation is just because something's a good idea doesn't mean it'll move. We all have to work really hard to break down the barriers of those who don't understand lived experience, like what Karen said. They don't get it, and so they're not thinking about it. And so if you're not saying it every day and dogged about ensuring that it's in front of them, like Gilda Cupp Hunter does, it won't happen. So that tee up from Period Project and Gilda Cupp Hunter, plus all of the people in the community who took action, and we at WREN try to make it easier for people to take action, so we have a small part in this, is one of those pieces that make it a perfect marriage of actually being able to move forward. So that's the other piece, is if you really want something to happen, you got to help make it happen. And I'll say that, and we can do it. I've seen the success when we try.
Mm-hmm. Well, that speaks really strongly to the league's efforts and interest in, people having advocacy and talking to their legislators and not throwing up our hands and going, oh, well, nothing's ever going to happen, because you guys prove with this that things do happen when you're intentional and consistent. So that's great. I appreciate you putting that together. Susan, you had another question, I think.
Well, I do, but I'd also like to just remind / invite our other participants to put questions in the chat, or even just raise your hand if you want to. This really works well as a dialogue. We have a small enough group that we can do that. So don't be shy with your questions. So my question may be more to Karen, but it's, what can I do right now to support the Period Project?
Thanks for asking. Right now, of course, to do these advocacy efforts, they cost. And so financial donations to the Period Project is always an assistance and a huge help for us. In addition, product donation. We have product, but as soon as we get product is used throughout our communities. So any type of product donations and financial donations are greatly appreciated. Beyond that, we understand everyone in our communities don't have that, but they still have time to give. So we do welcome individuals to host packing parties, either in their homes or in their communities, or come to our warehouse and pack with the products that we have. We really open this up to any type of volunteers wanting to assist. We also have the ability that as we have products that are packed and ready to go, we need to get them to the users. So we also have a need for volunteers to deliver. So there's a multiple ways that one can become involved with the Period Project, help us to have community impact by eliminating the period poverty that exists in our community.
Thank you. I've heard a lot about packing parties. What exactly is that? Oh, and there's a question in the chat. Doris, you beat me.
Thanks. So a packing party is a lot of fun. So you just get a group of people together and you ask them to bring some type of a plastic bag similar to what you see as a Ziploc gallon bag, packs of tampons, pads of various sorts, liners, and wipes. And you normally set up an assembly line and you just pack them. Working with us, we have menstrual health cards that go inside of them, and we have a label that says the Period Project. The menstrual health cards is something I want to focus in on. They're extremely important. It allows administrator to track their menstrual cycles, and it allows them to track it in a way that they can use that information and data to share with their physician during their annual checkups or however frequently they go to their doctor. Oftentimes, if something happened 2 or 3 months ago, you kind of forget about it. But this is an in your front way, very easily documented so that you can communicate with your physician once you go. And you can look back 2 and 3 or even 12 months and say, this is what my cycle has looked like. These are some of the pain days I've had, and you and your doctor can use that information to make informed medical decisions. So we have 2 different types of packs. We do not put tampons in the student packs, but we do allow them to go into our adult community packs. There are some school systems that are not ready to introduce tampons into the lives of the administrating individuals in their schools, and we honor that request. If a school does allow them and they request them, then we will provide them. But in a basic package, we would not have any type of tampons in the student pack. And it's just really a good an opportunity to get together with friends and family and whoever from your community. It's even a good way to meet people in your community. If you're saying, hey, I'm going to host a party, these are the things I need you to bring. And just a great opportunity to talk about period poverty and introduce period poverty and how someone can have a positive impact on our community and help to eliminate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So do you have like a shopping list on Walmart.com or Amazon.com or something like that?
We do not currently have it on Amazon. We had it, and there is a change that took place in February. But we do, if you go to our site, periodproject.org, that information is all listed. It tells you how you can become involved in the different volunteer opportunities and the items that we most need for donations.
Thank you. So, other questions?
I see some familiar faces on here and a lot of quiet individuals that I know aren't always quiet. Ashley, maybe we answered all the questions up front.
I
And
do
again-
believe we're that good.
Again, I can't express enough the importance of when you finish the call today, reaching out to everyone that you know in the state of South Carolina, asking them, please take that moment to pick up the phone, call your senators, share with your senators your voice and your need for them to eliminate the sales tax on feminine hygiene products. Ask them if they're serving on the finance committee to please ask that this becomes an agenda item and get this passed before next week.
I think that's a great point too, Karen, because if everybody not only called themselves, but got 2 or 3 friends to call, that's, that's like the old Prel commercial, right? She told 3 friends and she told 3 friends. And before you know it, you've got a lot of people making phone calls, and we have to make our own calls, but get more people involved to do it as well. Because we're so close. Not that we won't get it over the finish line eventually, but why not do it now? Why not get it done?
And understanding that, women here in South Carolina have a lot of voice and a lot of power. This is an opportunity for us to use it. We have changed the trajectory of the political landscape before, and we can do it again. This is time for us to speak up for ourselves and not let the males who are voted right now to represent us not hear our voice. It is time for them to hear us and action upon the request that we have for them. And that is to eliminate the sales tax.
I love that optimism. Power.
I shared with Ashley when we started this journey together, I am fully confident we are going to be successful in this legislative session. And I am still very confident, but I'm asking for each of you all to help me to push it over the finish line. We can't do it by ourselves, but we're fighting for you. And if you use your voice while we're using ours, together we can get it done.
I can't think of a better way to say that. That's terrific. If we don't have any more questions, then the league would like to thank Ashley and Karen for sharing their time and expertise with us tonight, and for working so hard to push this affirmative legislation over the finish line. We don't get enough victories as women in South Carolina, so this is fantastic. And I don't know about everybody else, but I will be calling at least 5 of my friends and getting them to make these calls tomorrow. And I'll be doing, and hopefully they'll all be doing it as well. So if everybody on the call tonight heeds that call, I think we can have a affirmative difference. So I want to thank everybody for attending. Keep an eye out for the email I will send out as soon as this recording is ready, and I'll put some of the links in that email that will probably be pushing the limit of the time frame a little bit. So don't wait to get the email. Don't wait for that. Make your calls. And thank you both ladies very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank y'all. We can do it together.
Yes, go make those calls. Send it out on all your social media platforms. Tell everyone at your dinner table, at your mailbox, anywhere on your street. We have a voice and we're going to use it. Thank you.
Great practice for the next one.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.